Hello and welcome to episode of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. Today is Friday, March 3rd. Hope everybody's having a good day so far. It is Friday. We have reached the end of the week. The weekend is upon us, and we got a lot to get into today. Pretty big night in sports last night. Had Patrick Kane's debut for the New York Rangers, along with some other college basketball and some NBA action as well. A tough debut for the Rangers. Tough Rangers debut, I should say, for Patrick Kane as the Rangers lose 5-3 to the Senators. Look, Halak in net, backup goalie. Rangers right now only playing with 5 defensemen, with obviously Keandre Miller and Lindgren both out. Even on Sunday against the Kings, they really only played with 4 defensemen after the Keandre Miller incident. So they've been shorthanded, and they're playing shorthanded. And that's the way they are. I should say they've been shorthanded, and they're playing like they're shorthanded. They're not playing well. They're struggling. There's not much physicality, not a ton of energy. Late in games, the other team just has an extra step. And yesterday, watching that game, seeing that game unfold, it looked a lot like a team that just made a big-time trade. It looked like a lot like a team that was trying to force things. It looked like a team that didn't practice much together. And you hope that after tomorrow's game against Boston, which is a massive game and would be a great win for us, they get a couple days off and then they play against the Canadiens. You hope over those couple of days they can get some practice in, get some chemistry, build a little bit of chemistry. Because let's be honest here, Patrick Kane got traded on Tuesday or Wednesday, right? I think it was Tuesday, right? Tuesday he got traded. I came on here Wednesday, talked about he was in the lineup on Thursday, and the Rangers had a back-to-back Wednesday, Thursday, so it wasn't like there was a day off on Wednesday where they can get practice in. There was an optional skate in the morning. They ended up going, obviously, play Philly, got the win. They didn't play great, but they still got the win. Tarasenko had a nice game, 3 points. He's starting to find himself, but a rough loss last night. But if you're a Rangers fan, I wouldn't panic. There's a lot of people today saying, oh, we got Patrick Kane and we're still losing and we're still struggling. Because over the past couple weeks, the Rangers have been struggling. They got to get healthy and they got to build chemistry. And they got, 21 games, I think, left to do that, or about 20 now, left to do that after the back-to-back. You get Boston tomorrow, which potentially playing 5 defensemen if Lindgren out against Boston is going to be really tough to do, but you hope they get the win. And again, they'll have a couple days off after tomorrow where they can get some practice in, and again, games as well. It was one game with Patrick Kane. They got time to do it. They got 20 games left. They're comfortable in the playoff spot. They've got 20 games left. It's not like they're fighting for a playoff spot where they're on the brink of missing it. They're comfortable in their playoff spot. Now, I'm not saying you go 5-15 over the next 20 games. That's not good. But if they play 500 hockey the rest of the way, they'll be fine. And that's the expectation. So, and then once playoffs come around, if they're ready to go by playoffs, that's all that matters. So Rangers, Islanders, both with the night off. Knicks will be in action tonight along with the Nets. It is a really, really just tough time to be a Brooklyn Net fan. I'll get to it here to open up the show. We'll get to the Nets, though. They'll be in Boston tonight against the Celtics, and the Knicks will be in Miami, play against the Heat. They'll look to extend their winning streak to 8 games. The Bucks got another win the other night. They've got a 16-game win streak going. They'll have the night off. So the Bucks, Knicks, 2 of the hottest teams in basketball. Knicks destroyed the Nets on Wednesday night. It was an utter disaster of a performance, and we'll get into the Nets to open up the show. I want to get to a couple players specifically. I want to get to a little Joe Harris, get to a little bit about Dinwiddie because he's been awful. So is Harris. I don't think Dinwiddie's gotten as much criticism as he deserves. So we'll get to the Nets to open up the show, their recent struggles. I also want to get to Daniel Jones. New reports coming out. We heard reports about a week or 2 ago that Daniel Jones wants around $45 million. Now we're hearing reports he wants more than $45 million. Joe Shane talked at the NFL Combine. It seemed like the Giants were all in on Daniel Jones. It again seemed like they want him with them long term. And you're also hearing reports that the Giants potentially could go franchise tag Barkley, sign Daniel Jones long term. That's probably where the route they'll go. But if Daniel Jones wants more than $45 million, should that be reversed? What do the Giants do? We'll get into that and much more later on in this Friday edition of the Bubbs on Sports podcast. And with that all being said, this is the Bubbs on Sports podcast, and let's get it going here on a Friday edition. Let's get started. So, the Brooklyn Nets right now struggling. Last night, or Wednesday night, I should say, was brutal. I mean, it was awful. It was horrendous. Sitting there watching that game, seeing the Knicks just run all over the Nets, up and down the court, scoring, fouls, getting to the line, shooting threes. Everything for the New York Knicks was going in. They put up, I think they shot crazy. It was a crazy amount that they shot. They shot 57.1% from three, 60% from the field. They were hot. That's all they were. And they've been hot. They've been dominating. I hate the Knicks. I don't like the Knicks. I've always said it. I don't. And now especially their fans are, we're winning a championship. We've won 7 straight games. I'm not going to get into Knicks fans. This is about the Nets. It's about the Nets. It's about their struggles. But Wednesday night was awful. And as a Net fan right now, we're all frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm sure the Nets fans watching this, although there might not be many left at this point, but I'm sure you guys are all frustrated. Number one, the Knicks are going back to being the main team in the city. For a while there, for a couple years, I'm not saying the Nets ran New York, but for a couple years, the Nets got all the media attention, and that's no longer the case. The Nets are back to being irrelevant. It stinks to say it, but a couple days ago before the All-Star break, about, what was it? Was it a week ago now? Has it already been a week ago Friday? When I talked about coming back from the All-Star break, I said 24 games left. And in those 24 games, we want to see progress. We want to see this team getting better. We want to see the Nets continuing to build chemistry. We also want to get answers on a couple of guys. We want to get answers on Mikal Bridges. Could he be long-term here? Guy like, Cam Johnson. Potentially a guy like Spencer Dinwiddie. You want to continue to see Nick Claxton, who most likely could very well get a contract extension this offseason after he's having a career year, but potentially him getting a contract extension, you want to see him continue to put up big-time numbers. We want to see these certain things. And I also said I would like to see this team get to the playoffs. As much as championship is no longer the expectation anymore, it's no longer championship or bust. This roster is definitely not even close to being built for a championship, and you now start to question if they're even built for the playoffs. But going into the second half of the season, 24 games left, we had that kind of checklist. And 4 games in, it has been an utter disaster. And this team, which we all kind of expected during that break where they played a game Wednesday, they got the All-Star break, they didn't play again until 9 days later. They come out, get embarrassed by the Chicago Bulls, lose on a buzzer beater to the Atlanta Hawks where it took a massive comeback. So don't let buzzer beater fool you, act like it was a close game. For the majority of the game, the Hawks were winning. Nets finally decided to score late in the second half into the fourth quarter and finally decided to show up. But early in that game, it was rough. Nets had to come back. So they don't put themselves in that hole. Maybe it doesn't come down to a Trae Young buzzer beater with 7 seconds. The defense has been poor. You want to talk about the game was close. Trae Young, you can make the debate he traveled, but they had 7 seconds. They had to defend. They didn't. And it was a mid-range from about the free throw line. Trae Young scored. They win. Then they blow it against the Bucks where they're playing well, beating the Bucks, potentially snapping their, at the time, 14-game win streak, and then they absolutely implode in the second half. They go up 12 in the first quarter. They're winning 12 coming out of the first quarter, and they implode in the second half, getting outscored 16 in the third quarter, and then getting outscored by 8 in the fourth quarter, collectively getting outscored by 24 points against the Bucks. So there's your 3 straight losses. And then Wednesday night, they got embarrassed at the Garden against the New York Knicks. That is now back-to-back losses against the Knicks. They were on the 9-game win streak. They've now lost 2 straight. And the Knicks fans, which is the last thing we want, get to brag about their win streak. They get to brag about how they beat us these last 2 games. And as Nets fans, there's not much we can do because the Nets simply are playing like garbage. And we went into the second half of the season and we said, 24 games left. 12-12, play 500 basketball potentially. All right. Get to 12-12, you feel good about your chances of making the playoffs. I said if they have an epic collapse, it could be rough, but they were 34-24, fifth in the Eastern Conference going into the All-Star break. Coming out of the All-Star break, they're now 0-4. But I put some records out there. I said, all right, 12-12 gets you to 46-36. Well, the Nets are going to have to go 12-8 the rest of the way to get to that point because they're already 0-4. Do you see this team going 12-8? Do you see this team winning tonight on the road in Boston? I don't. Sure, they could probably beat the Hornets and the Rockets, and those will be two big games because let's be honest here. If we can't beat the Hornets and the Rockets, that's bad. That's really bad. Then you get the Bucks again, then you get the Timberwolves, then you get the Nuggets, then you get the Thunder, the Kings, the Nuggets again. That's a rough stretch. Is it crazy to say right now the way this team is playing? They were 34-30. They were 34-24 going into the All-Star break, fifth in the Eastern Conference. Look at where they are now. 34-28, 2-8 in their last 10, 4 straight losses. 11 games back of the 1 seed. That's not really, I'm not trying to make it seem like that's how far that, I'm using that as close now as they are to the Heat. Heat are the 7 seed. Heat are 12.5 back. The Nets to close out the break gained a game on the Heat because they beat them by 11. And you want to know, you felt good going into the break because, again, you beat the Bulls by 11. You did lose to the Sixers with all the new pieces, but it was a good, close game. You then got crushed by the Knicks, which was bad. But then you beat the Heat, and you're like, all right, a lot has happened. Go into the All-Star break. Let these guys reset mentally, physically, come out, and let's see a new improved team. And they've gotten worse. They've regressed. Jacque Vaughn got a contract extension. This team's regressed. And a lot of this stuff I got to admit, and I like Jacque Vaughn, so maybe it's, I shouldn't say I'm not saying like I think Jacque Vaughn's the greatest coach in the world. I'm not saying that. But I do think we could have a lot worse. Like if Steve Nash was still coaching this team, we probably would be a 20-win team right now. We probably wouldn't even be sniffing the postseason. We'd probably be like down by Orlando and down by Charlotte right now if Steve Nash was coaching this team. Number one, if Steve Nash was still coaching this team, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant probably would have been traded a whole lot earlier than before the trade deadline. They probably would have been traded back in November, if we're really being honest here. So, in terms of Jacque Vaughn, like, not a lot of this is on him, in my opinion, because when you watch these games, it's not really coaching. It's just bad decision-making and the talent. There's just not enough talent right now. And some of the shot selection, some of the poor play is just pathetic. It's pathetic. Is it crazy? And all of a sudden, we were talking about, all right, get the 6 seed, get the 5 seed, play a playoff round. You're probably not beating Cleveland. You're probably not beating Philly, but you still get a playoff round. You never know, right? Now it's like, geez, we might, at this point, there's a chance we're playing in the play-in, And I don't want to play in the play-in. No, but I don't like the play-in. The play-in's stupid, in my opinion. 8 teams should just make the playoffs, in my opinion. I don't like the play-in. So, and then if you win the play-in, then you got to go play probably the Bucks or Boston, which you have zero chance. You're probably going to get swept. So it's just, it's frustrating. It really is. But when you look at this now and you say, all right, they're off to an 0-4 start, and you can go through their schedule and probably, and I hope I'm wrong, but you probably chalk up tonight as a loss. The reality is they're on the road against the Celtics. Those two words are not good. The road and the Celtics. They're probably 0-5. So that's probably a 5-game losing streak. Now, you do get 2 good games coming up against the Hornets and the Rockets. 2 teams that currently combine for 33 wins. They're awful. They're horrendous. LaMelo Ball's done for the year. Rockets have nothing. You expect those 2 games to be wins. Hornets are also at home. If you can't beat Charlotte at home without LaMelo Ball, there's problems. If you can't beat the Rockets, there's problems. So you expect those 2 games to be wins. Okay, then you're at 2-5. Okay. Then you probably lose to the Bucks, 2-6. You probably lose to the Timberwolves, Nuggets, 2-8. Thunder's probably a loss because the Thunder. I mean, again, if the Nets keep playing, and it's defensively too, they'll probably beat the Magic, Rockets later. I'll go through the wins. let's say, all right, Hornets, Rockets is a win, 2, Magic win, Rockets another win. You go into April, Pistons is a win, Magic is a win. That's like 6. Hawks might be a win as well. That's like 7. And then maybe the Heat, maybe the Thunder, that would be like 9, 10. So, I mean, if they continue at that rate, they're probably a 9-15 team, 10-14, which would be around 43-39, 44-38, which I don't know if that'd be good enough to get to a playoff spot. You might have to go through the play-in. The games late in the season against the Heat are going to be big. They got one more game on the road against Miami. That's going to be big. But if this team keeps playing like this, forget the playoffs. You're going to have to worry about the play-in, and nobody wants that. And again, I talk about Jacques Vaughn. I don't think a lot of this is on Jacques Vaughn, and I'll tell you why. Bad shot selection. A lot of these guys are just chucking up shots, and it's just been poor. This team's not a good three-point shooting team. But one of the biggest concerns I take away from this, and I'm going to get to 2 guys specifically that I'm really disappointed in. One of them, every Nets fan is disappointed in. The other one, to me, I don't think gets much criticism. So I'll get into those 2 guys. And I warned you all about the guy. He came back, Dinwiddie. I'll just say his name right off the bat. I warned you guys. I said, my biggest issue, I was never a big Dinwiddie fan when he was with the Nets previously. I didn't like the way he played. I thought he was a little too much of a ball hog. I thought his shot selection was terrible. I thought his overall just decision-making in terms of some of his passes and some of his shots were just stupid. I did. I thought, too, that he took too many threes. He's not a very good three-point shooter. I thought he took too many. You know, I thought there's times where you had opportunities to, dish the ball around, get an assist, play, set up the offense a little bit, and I thought at times he would never do that. And I'm starting to see that again. But one of the bigger concerns is the defense. And I understand, again, they got to gel a little bit. But it's not like the defense was pretty good, I feel like, when these guys first came on. Like, they played well against the Heat defensively. They played really well defensively against the Sixers. And now, all of a sudden, it's like the defense has gone out the window. Like, we knew this Nets team's not going to put up a ton of points. The way they're going to beat you is defending, and they're a streaky offensive team in terms of they're going to go on their runs. They'll go on a 12-0 run, and then they'll go on scoring droughts where they don't score for 4 or 5 minutes. They'll have quarters where they put up 50, they get outscored, they get outscored 30-15. They'll have those quarters, but they'll also have quarters where they score 25 points and hold their opponent to 12. That's the way the defense works. That's the way this team works, but we're not seeing that. The defense is atrocious, and the offense is what the offense is. We know it's not very good. 2 games specifically, they got blown out 120 or I apologize. 118 or 131 rather. Sorry, looking at all these scores. 131 to 87 they lost to the Bulls to open up the break. 131 points to 87. It's bad offense, bad defense. And then most recently 142 to 18. Oh, 118 rather. And they let up 47 in the first quarter. 47. They had 81 points. They allowed 81 points in the first half. 81. It was like watching an all-star game. That's really what it was like. That's how bad it got. I will tell you, there's 2 positives that I'm seeing right now out of this Nets team. I will break up the positives and the negatives. I'll talk a little about the positive here. There are 2 things that I have liked. Cam Johnson has been very good. He's been very good. Shot 7-11 the other night, 13 of 18 at 33 points against the Knicks. His three-point shot seems to be been going well. He's putting up 15 a game. His three-point shot, he's been pretty solid. He put up 10, 27, 19, and then 33. He's actually been very solid. Since joining the Nets, he's putting up really solid numbers. Field goal percentage shooting over 50%, which is a career high right now. In the 7 games he's played with the Nets, he's putting up 19, which by far is a career high. Cam Johnson has been really good, and I'll tell you what, he's 26 years old. Today's actually his birthday, so he turns 26 today. It's funny. They posted a video of him getting his cake at shoot-around this morning in Boston. But he, again, very young player. This is his 5th year in the league, or his 4th year, rather, in the league. I like what I'm seeing from him. to be honest, he potentially could be a piece that could have a future here, definitely. And then the other guy is Mikal Bridges, the two guys we got back in the trade for KD. Bridges has been good as well. He had that 40-point game before the All-Star break. And then recently, he put up 31 the other night, where he went 11-19 against the Bucks, put up 21 against the Knicks, struggled a little bit from the field. But all in all, he's been solid. Him and Cam Johnson, to me, he's been, since joining the Nets, 47% from three, which is by far his career high, and 51% from the field. Mikal Bridges has been good from three and the field, which I've liked. He's also been good at the free throw line. He's a career 85.2% shooter this year. With the Nets, he's 92%. I thought when he's gotten to the line, he's connected on him. And that's something I noticed, something little about his game, but I've noticed it. And he's put up 23 a game with the Nets. Bridges and Cam Johnson have been really good, and they've been consistent. Claxton's obviously been good, but out of the new acquisition, they've been good. There's two guys that I am just, one of them, it's just over. It's done with. And to me, it goes back to the Bucks series where he just didn't look right. Then he got injured last year, missed the majority of the season. Now he's back, and he's just not the same, and that's Joe Harris. And I know he'll probably be gone at the end of this year. Him and Seth Curry are probably like the two veterans, along with some other guys. Joe Harris is awful. He is not the player he once was. Not even close. I'm going to give you his numbers during this 4-game losing streak and just let them sink in as to how bad he's been. 4 of 13 from the field. That's 30.7%. 3 of 10 from 3. That's 30%. He's had 11 points in 4 games. That's putting up 2.75 points per game. That's how bad he's been over this 4-game losing streak. And again, another guy, too, that his minutes have been reduced a ton. He's not the same player he once was. It's weird because he just fell off. That Bucks series, he struggled. That entire postseason, he struggled, and nobody really thought much of it because the Nets kind of just, they beat the Celtics in 5. They got off to the quick start against the Bucks. They lose the Bucks in 7 games, and you don't really look at it. You don't blame it on Joe Harris. Not saying the series was on Joe Harris, but everybody was talking about the injuries and all that stuff. Harris was terrible in that series. He was not good. And he's been awful. And the fact that he's still out there. I mean, Ben Simmons is another guy, too, that's disappeared. He's not even in the equation anymore. He's disappeared. He's literally disappeared. He's basically a coach now. All he does is just sit on the bench in fancy outfits and watch the game and get paid. That's all he does. That trade's looking really bad because the Rockets got hard. The Sixers got Harden, and look, if it ends up in a championship, then it's a positive for them. If Harden leaves at the end of this year and they don't win a championship, it doesn't really do anything. But the Nets had Drummond. He's gone. Seth Curry's probably gone at the end of the year, and Ben Simmons doesn't play. He's gone at the end of the year as well. So everything you got back really is, it's basically like the Sixers just gave the Nets all their junk, and the Nets are like, oh yeah, we'll take it. This will be good for a championship. Simmons didn't even play last year, and he still doesn't play. Seth Curry's all right, a little bit of an injury, but he's a veteran. He won't, a little bit of an injury history, but he won't have a future here. Couple guys here are going to be gone. It's going to be a very young. I'm very interested. I'm actually interested to see where they're at. And again, I hate the feeling. I hate when I get this feeling, and I've gotten it before, like watching the Jets because they're atrocious. Where like you start to get to the point now, 20 games left. You watch these games, and it's almost like I got that feeling against I think it was the Hawks game. It was either the Hawks or the Bucks game. When the Nets collapsed in the second half, you got that feeling of just get the season over with. And I hate that feeling because I love watching all my sports teams, and you got to enjoy them when they're on because when they're in the off season, you definitely miss them. No matter if they're good or bad, I will admit, during the off season, I do miss the Jets, whether they're good or bad. You love watching Jets football, love watching hockey, baseball, basketball, the whole bit. Again, love all my teams. But you do get that feeling sometimes where it's just like, get the season over with. And you got it, sometimes, watching the game, I'm like, all right, 20 games left, come on, be positive. But it's tough with this team at times. It really is. And right now it's tough. It's tough to sit there and watch these games. It is because they're just so bad right now. And then Spencer Dinwiddie's the other guy that's been awful. I mean, to me, he's been bad. I said this when they traded for him. I've never been a big Dinwiddie fan. I never was when he was here. A lot of Nets fans really like him. Really liked him, I should say, when he was here. I shouldn't say I hated him, but he was not my favorite. Like he put a lot of frustration into me. He really did. I'll tell you that. Really, really just questionable shooting at times. At times, I feel like he thinks he can win games. He's just not that type of player. And I know he was consistent. I know he was out there, the majority of the games. I know he played 80 games in 2017 and was consistent. Had a really big year in 2019, putting up 20 a game. But his shot selection, I am so tired of. And we watched it for 4 years with Dinwiddie. 5 years, rather. 5 years we watched him chuck up unnecessary threes, especially late in his Nets tenure the first time around. And now we're seeing it again. He's just chucking up meaningless threes. We're down by 20, and he's shooting a three. Again, you're not going to be able to make up all the points in one basket. You got to chip away little by little. At times, you can't even run the offense with him. You can't have any rhythm. Some of his shot selection is awful. Let me give you some numbers. Dinwiddie deserves a little bit more criticism. He doesn't get much because Nets fans love him. A lot of Nets fans love him for some reason. They act like he's this great player. Like, I never was a big Dinwiddie fan. I'm still not, especially right now. But in this 4-game losing streak, the numbers don't lie. 19 of 49 from the field. That's 38%, 38.7%. He's 7 of 23 from 3, but yet he keeps taking threes. That's 30.4%. And let me just tell you, he's had 59 points throughout these 4 games. He is a career, or I should say, this season, he's put up 17 points per game. He's putting up 14 a game with the Nets so far. 16 with the Nets so far, 14 during this 4-game losing streak. Give you some other numbers. He had an offer the other night. I believe it was against the Bucks, or the Bulls rather. He went 0 for 6 from 3, 0 for 3 from 3, 0 for 6 from the field. Had 2 points. Went 2 for 3 from the free throw line. But nobody says anything, I feel like. To give you some other numbers, he shot 45% this year with the Mavericks. He's shooting 39% right now with the Nets. He shot 40.5% with the Mavericks this year from 3. He's shooting 31.3% against the Nets. You see a common theme here? When he was with the Mavericks, he felt like, and I don't want to act like I'm calling him cocky and he thinks he's the greatest player ever, but I do get that feeling where he's with the Mavericks, they had Luka Doncic. He didn't need to play as big of a role. He was just, another guy that could put up points, put up, 17, 18 a night, hit some shots, drive it a little bit, do all that kind of stuff, make a little bit, right? He was kind of that other guy. But they had a one. Like, I feel like Dinwiddie with the Nets, he feels like he's got to be the number one guy. Like, he's not. He's not good enough. Just the bottom line is, message the Spencer Dinwiddie. You're not good enough to be a number one. You're not. You can't single-handedly carry a team. And I feel like his mindset, and you look at the numbers, when he was with the Nets, he was always a low 30% shooter. Like, he touched 32% from 3, 33% from 3. And yet he always took 5, 6, 7 threes a game. If you're not a good three-point shooter, you shouldn't be shooting all these threes. And yet he still does. And he still misses. So the message to Spencer Dinwiddie is, your strength isn't carrying a team. That's not what you do. Your strength is you can come in, hit some shots. He can do that. He can consistently drive. He can get to the line. Not a great free throw shooter, but he can drive a little bit, make a little bit. Your strength isn't chucking up 8 threes a game and shooting 45% from 3. That's not your strength. And I'm so tired of him just going past half court, stepping up and chucking up a 3 from the top of the key and hitting off the front of the rim, and the Knicks get the rebound. That's all we watched. That's all we watched on Wednesday night. Dinwiddie chucking up threes, missing them. Up, rebound, Rebound Knicks going the other way. They can go score because the Nets can't get back in transition because they stink. What an embarrassment. It is an embarrassment right now for the Brooklyn Nets. And tonight's going to be bad. I'm not ready for it. I'm really not. It's going to be a rough one, I'll tell you that. I'm fully expecting a 1-4. I'm already preparing myself for it. I got myself hyped up for the Knicks game. I thought there was potential there that we could spoil their win streak. I also thought that I didn't think we played that bad against the Bucks, but I should have known better. Second half of a back-to-back. At the Garden, Knicks are hot, Nets aren't. I should have known better. I got my I didn't think the Nets would win, but I actually thought it'd be a game, and I actually thought the Nets could potentially beat the Knicks, because they played well again. And again, like that's the part where if you want to look at an optimistic point of view of it, it's like okay, the Nets can. They played a good half against the Bucks, but it's like the second half they got outscored by 24, and it's like what happened, you know? They put up 36. They were outscoring them 36-22 in the first quarter, and then they blew it in the second half. That can't happen, especially against a team like the Bucks. So all of a sudden now, you're looking at this Ranger team, or this Net team rather, and you're saying to yourselves, they might be in a play-in. And then what's the point in even winning? You know, and then you get to the play-in, and you're going to get all the fans contemplating whether you play for the play-in game or you tank. I'm not ready for those conversations. They got to find a way to turn this thing around. Because it's ugly. It's really ugly. Again, 24 games left. They're 0-4 right now. If they want to get to 12-12, which is 500 basketball, get to 46-36, which I think was realistic going in. But if they want to get to that point, they're going to have to go 12-8 the rest of the way. With the way this team's playing, that's asking for a lot. No, most likely after tonight, they'll have to go 12-7 the rest of the way. That's asking for a lot. So, potentially 11-13 is probably more likely right now. 10-14, anything worse. I mean, again, like 7-17 is ugly. That's where if they go 7-17, which they would have to go 5-12 the rest of the way here. If they lose tonight, they'll have to go 5-12 the rest of the way. Which, as much I don't think it's. I think they'll do better than 7-17. Because they do have those 2 games against the Rockets. They have the 2 games against the Magic. Those are probably wins. The Rockets are probably wins. Hornets probably win. You can make the case for beating the Heat. You can make the case for beating the Hawks. They didn't play well against the Hawks, and they still got them to a buzzer beater if you want to look at it from that point of view. But the Nets are blowing their playoff spot right now. It's rough. And I know, again, championships not like if this was Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, you're sitting here watching them blow away a playoff spot, you're like, okay, this is bad. But again, this is, like, I understand this is, but we want to see growth. And if the Nets go 7-17 and they continue to lose games like this and they blow their season, what did you learn? Like, then are you going to have to blow it all up in the offseason? Like, that's my point that I've been saying. I still think playoffs has to be a goal because if you don't make the playoffs, that means you played really bad in the second half of the season. And right now we're witnessing it with our own eyes. We're witnessing the fall of the Brooklyn Nets again with our own eyes. And I've always said I feel like there are pieces to this team. There are pieces to this team. I really believe that. But right now, nobody, Dinwiddie's struggling. Harris is struggling. Dinwiddie's not that good. He's not. A lot of people love Dinwiddie for some reason. I don't. Never have. Unless if he gets going, I plan on not being a huge fan. When he comes to the Nets, he feels like he has to be the hero. And that's the tough part, too, is like as a fan, you want to see what these other guys can do. And Dinwiddie just shooting at every play. DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith, he's been all right. I mean, the three-point shooting's been bad. He's supposed to be a 3-and-D guy. I mean, the fact is, I mean, look, and this could just be it, too, where we watched Kevin Durant play basketball for a couple years. As much as it failed, it was fun to watch him play basketball. It was. Like, watching Kevin Durant play basketball was something special. Some of the performances that he had were huge. So it could just be, look, we watched stars play for a couple years. As much as it didn't work out, there were still a lot of great games where they just went off. We're now watching a team with 0 stars. And Ben Simmons is not a star. I know there's still some Ben Simmons believers out there that say, oh, you got Ben Simmons. He was once good. He's not. He doesn't play. Okay? So a team without stars, it could just be that we're watching an average basketball team. And maybe average to us seems like really bad because we've been to the playoffs the past couple seasons. But I don't know. Nets are playing really bad. Knicks fans are getting annoying again. And I guess all is right in the world again in terms of basketball. For a while there, the Nets were getting all the coverage and the Knicks were the struggling team. Now it's back to normal. I will say something. Knicks fans, and we'll get to the Giants here next, as I'll get the notes up here, but Knicks fans act like saying go back to Jersey is people that is like, they act like going back to New Jersey saying that to a Net fan is bad. Like, it's not bad. I'd rather the Nets go back to Jersey, to be honest with you. So then we could stop this whole, we run New York stuff. And they're just better in Jersey. The jerseys were better. The logo it's just better. Like, the Nets are from Jersey. They've always been in Jersey. Brooklyn, they're just Jersey. I'd rather them go back to Jersey. I'd rather that. So I like the people out there that say, oh, go back to Jersey. Please, I would rather that. That's actually not a bad thing in my opinion. But who knows? We'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. But now we move on here to a little bit of football as we continue to talk about the rumors surrounding Daniel Jones and his contract. So to give you a little bit of a timeline here, obviously a couple weeks ago we heard the reports surrounding him and his $45 million contract that he was looking for around $45 million. That was his asking price that he wanted. Now we're looking at a situation where today we hear that he wants over $45 million. This report, so the representatives from the New York Giants quarterback reportedly asking for more than $45 million per year in the negotiations. The source from this is Pat Leonard of the New York Daily News. And again, all of these rumors, we've heard many of them. The first was from Mike Florio. Obviously, that was the first one that he wanted around $45 million. Now we're hearing from Pat Leonard of the Daily News, who's covered for the Giants for a little while now, that he wants more than $45 million. We've heard many other reports from many other people. You're gonna continue to hear contract rumors. We've heard it with the Jets. We heard today that the Jets, I think I heard a report today that if the Jets don't get Rodgers, Carr's their next guy. That's their guy. That's sources say that the Jets are all in on Carr if Rodgers does stay in Green Bay. That's who they're going to get. Forget Tannehill and everybody like that, which I would be fine with that. Again, the truth to that, who knows? I would expect the Jets to go after Carr if they don't end up with Rodgers. That would be the expectation. That would be obviously the hope. I wouldn't mind if we go out and get Carr right now, to be honest with you, and not even wait on Rodgers. I'm fine with that. That's just how I view it. But back to the Giants, we're going to hear all these rumors. Joe Shane spoke at the NFL Combine a couple days ago, along with many of the other NFL GMs and coaches and all that good stuff. And they kind of said the plan is, and he's all in on the Daniel Jones train. He wants him back. He mentioned that, and I think we all agreed, after they lost to the Eagles, they had their postseason press conferences, and we all kind of felt that, in a way, it seemed like they wanted Daniel Jones back. In terms of Barkley, it was, I don't know if tough love's the right word to use, but it was kind of like, you know what, we're going to get Daniel Jones back, and we're going to see what we can do with Barkley. If we bring Barkley back, great. If we don't, it's not the end of the world. That was kind of the feeling you got. Daniel Jones was like, we want him back. We need him back. We don't want him going anywhere else. If we miss out on him if we don't re-sign him to us, that would be a big fail. Barkley, on the other hand, it felt like they were more, we would love him back, but if he doesn't come back, we still feel like we're in a good spot with this roster. So that was kind of the thought you got there. And then, again, the other day at the NFL Combine, all signs are pointing to Daniel Jones being the Giants quarterback. Joe Shane wants it. Brian Dable wants it. Giants front office wants it. Everyone wants it. They can want it, but how much do they want it for? And the reports now that we're hearing, Daniel Jones wanting more than $45 million a year is ridiculous. And I've talked about Daniel Jones a lot. I've said it a lot. I think Daniel Jones is a good quarterback. I think he's around average. You want to say he's a little above average. Okay, he's not elite. He's not top 10. He's not top 12. He's probably 16, 17, 15 in terms of top rankings. If you had to put him in an exact spot, he's right around the average mark. Daniel Jones had a good year this year. I'll also admit he did it with nobody around him. Kenny Galladay's going to get cut. He was their big name receiver they brought in. That was an absolute bust. You do have to give credit with the Giants, though. They're cutting bait. They're just moving on. They're not trying to do what the Yankees like to do and try to let it last longer and say, oh, this guy's going to have a big year like they're going to do with Josh Donaldson and Aaron Hicks this year, but that's besides the point. Again, they're moving on from him. You had Darius Slayton. You had Richie James. All those guys are free agents. Sterling Shepard, Darius Slayton, Richie James are all free agents. And I've talked about the receiver spot. They did bring back Hodgins. Sorry, name blanked on me for a second. Had 351 yards with the Giants last year. Had 8 catches, 105 yards, and a touchdown in the playoff game against the Vikings, all that stuff. The Giants still have some other stuff they got to do. They got to fix up the defense, secondary, linebackers a little bit. They need more speed at the linebackers. That was evident in the Eagles game. But the number one priority is the quarterback, obviously. And I understand when you look at the whole roster, it needs a lot more talent, and especially around Daniel Jones. I get that. But when you look at Daniel Jones' numbers right here, and I'm going to ask a question. Drop it in the comments down below. We're talking Daniel Jones right now. My question is, 3,205 yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a QBR of 60.8 in 16 games played last year, okay? He did have a playoff win on top of that. I'll give him that. Those were his numbers. Is that worth 45 or more per year? Comment down below. I don't think so. Many Giants fans don't think so. I would like to hear your thoughts because that's what it ultimately comes down to. He's a good quarterback. You want to bring him back? All right. 35, 33 million. Okay, I can get on board with that. You give him some talent, he can be a really solid quarterback, but he's never elite. He's never going to be elite. He's not elite. He's just not. And let me give you some of the top contracts per year and guys that he'd be paid more than. $50 million a year, Aaron Rodgers. He would be paid around that. But some guys that are $45 million or below. So Patrick Mahomes is making $45 million per year. He'd be making the same or more than Patrick Mahomes. That can't be right. Josh Allen is making $43 million a year. He'd be making more than Josh Allen. That also can't be right. Joe Burrow is probably on his way to getting a big contract. That's realistically going to probably be a lot. It probably could potentially be more than Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. But let's say he gets paid somewhere in the 40s to 50 per year. No way Daniel Jones sniffs anywhere near where Joe Burrow's playing. It's just not. Joe Burrow's been to an AFC Championship game, and he's been to a Super Bowl. What has Daniel Jones been to? He won a wild card game against the Vikings. Again, not taking anything away from him. I understand the talent there. He's not even close on the same. He's not anywhere on the same level. Like, Jones had a good year last year. Let's stop acting like Daniel Jones went out there last year, threw for 35 touchdowns, over 4,000 yards, and led the Giants to the Super Bowl. Let's stop acting like that because a lot of people are acting like he had this great season. A big benefit, too, to his success was the fact that Saquon Barkley had a really big bounce-back year coming off of the couple injuries that he's played with, or he's had. Daniel Jones is not worth $45 million a year. You look at some of the quarterbacks that are around the 30s. Prescott, $40 million. Kirk Cousins, $35 million. Jared Goff, $33 million. Tannehill, $29 million. Those are the guys per year. Specifically, Jared Goff, Tannehill. I'd probably say Goff's better than Daniel Jones, but they're close. He's making $35 million a year, the $33 million a year. That's a good baseline. Daniel Jones is in that category of quarterbacks. He's not in the category. There's elite, there's really good, then there's he's all right. He's okay. That's where Jones is. He's in the average to above average. He's good category. He's good, not great. Can he put a team over the top and build, be great? Probably not. But you get things that break your way. You get a good running back. You do just enough. Maybe he can. He's in that category of guys like Jared Goff, guys like Tannehill, guys in the 33, 35 million range. I think when you really break it down, it shows. Like you say, 45 million. Daniel Jones, look at the numbers. He did good. Well, 45 million is in Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes' range. If he makes $47 million this year, if he gets a $47 million contract, let's say he gets $47 per year. Let's just hypothetically say, or $46. He's making more than Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has won 2 Super Bowls. You can't even compare the two. It'd be ridiculous. It really would be ridiculous. So, if I'm the Giants, look, if Daniel Jones wants $45 million, I'm not giving it to him. I'm not. And to be honest with you, I don't think any other team would be interested in giving it to him. I think he's gonna have to lower that price. You can't sit here and tell me with a straight face a team's gonna come out there and tell Daniel Jones, "Oh yeah, we'd like to bring you in for $45 million. Let's do it." You can't tell me. So a team would do that. And I know the Giants wouldn't, because Joe Shane's very smart, Dable's smart. They also witnessed. Dable is Josh Allen's offensive coordinator. They saw what Josh Allen is. Daniel Jones isn't Josh Allen. He's not. You want to say, oh, maybe he makes the jump? He's got to prove that. Then put him on the franchise tag. Let's see him make the jump. And then next year, then you say, you know what? All right, you're going all in. Give him the money. If he goes out this season and has a big year, then if they want to do that, go ahead and do that. Give him a true number 1 receiver like a T. Higgins, trade for a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins, something like that. They want to go out and make a splash move, give Daniel Jones a legit number 1. Okay, fine, you can do that. And if he has a big year, then you say, all right, if he has like a huge season and he shows that maybe he is okay, maybe he is top 10, then you can give him 40 plus. But right now, off of what he showed just off of last season where he threw 15 touchdowns, let's stop acting like he had a season that was for the season for the ages. Stop acting like that. He hasn't. So Daniel Jones is not worth 45 or more than 45 million. He's in more of the 30 million range. So the high 20s, mid to low 30s is where I think the best deal would come for Daniel Jones. All right, so now we move on here to closing out the podcast. Comment down below your thoughts. What is Daniel Jones worth? 45 or more? Or are you on the 40 plus? Are you okay with 40 million, 37 million, 35 million? Where are you looking at Daniel Jones? Less than 30 million? Are you a Giants fan that doesn't even think Daniel Jones is even worth 30 million? Where do you stand on the Daniel Jones contract negotiations, Daniel Jones contract rumors? I'd like to hear your thoughts in the comments section down below as we close out another full week of podcasts. And here we go. So, as for the sports on tonight, as I mentioned, pretty big night in the world of the NBA. You got both the Nets and the Knicks on. But as for the other games, you got the Magic and the Hornets, Hawks, Trailblazers, Thunder, Jazz. Knicks, as I mentioned, will visit the Heat, look to make it 8 straight. Suns, Bulls, Clippers, Kings, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Pelicans, Warriors, and the Timberwolves. Lakers, Nets will be in Boston tonight, TD Garden, to face the Boston Celtics. And that is a scary situation, but hopefully they find a way. I'd be fired up if they find a way to win tonight. As much as I don't like the Knicks, as Nets fans, we have to root for the Knicks tonight because we can't let the Heat win and gain another game on us if we lose, because it could get bad. I believe actually tonight, no, they can't. The Heat can get I think within a half a game tonight. If the Nets lose, they would be 34-29. If the Heat win, they'll be 34-30. Yeah, the Heat would be a half a game. If the Heat win tonight and the Nets lose, Heat would be within a half a game of the Nets. That's not good. So we actually want the Knicks to win tonight, because a win, and maybe if the Nets somehow win against the Celtics on the road, it would give us it would definitely cushion us in the standings. As for hockey tonight, you got 5 games on. Kraken, Blue Jackets, Jets, Oilers, Coyotes, Hurricanes, Ducks, Canadians, Devils will be in Vegas against the Golden Knights. Rangers, Isles both have the day off. Rangers will be back in action, as I mentioned, for a big game tomorrow in Boston against the Bruins. And the Isles will be back at UBS Arena tomorrow against the Red Wings for a little matinee hockey there. And tomorrow is the last regular season Saturday, in college basketball. Kentucky will visit Arkansas, 2 Eastern, CBS. Big game for Kentucky. Really tough loss on Wednesday, against Vanderbilt. They got to find a way to bounce back. 11-6 in the SEC. Potentially can jump Tennessee if Tennessee loses and Kentucky wins. For number 3 in the SEC, find a way, beat Arkansas, finish the year on a high note, 21-10, go into the SEC tournament, and then obviously into the March Madness. So we'll see. Big weekend for bubble teams. Big weekend for the teams on the bubble. First 4 out, first 4 in. Last 4 in, all that stuff. A lot on the line this weekend and obviously into Conference 20 play, which starts up next week. March is here. March is alive. And, well, a lot to look forward to. So that will do it for another week of podcasts in the books. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, another good week. Enjoy the weekend. A lot going on. Nets, Knicks, Rangers, Isles, college basketball, the rest of the NBA. Spring training, Yankees tonight against the Tigers, 6:35 at George M. Steinbrenner Field. Mets continue their spring training as well. Spring training baseball, basketball, college basketball, hockey, a lot going on. Enjoy it. March Madness right around the corner. An exciting time of year. So as always, hope you enjoyed it. Enjoy your weekend. I will see you all back here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed it. And as always, thanks for watching.